Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad As-Shafi'i bin Mustafa, and today I'm presenting my topic on how celebrating ethnic holidays enhances cultural understanding among university students. So let's get to the background, which is that even though campuses are being diverse with students from all over the world studying in one campus, that does not translate to them going to get along together swimmingly. In fact, according to Wang et al., it is the exact opposite because these students have their own different beliefs and values and political ideologies and language barriers which hinder intercultural communication, leading to this thing called self-segregation where they are grouped by nationality. And since university cultural programs are very passive, this paper proposed a different intervention, which is celebration of ethnic holiday, which leads to the aim, which is to investigate how celebrating ethnic holiday enhances cultural understanding in terms of knowledge, tolerance, and ethnocultural competency. And those four concepts will be defined here, in which cultural understanding, coined by Hall, refers to the process of recognizing and respecting different diverse practices, not to be confused with cultural knowledge, which is about the conceptual understanding of those diverse cultures. And of course, tolerance, which is self-explanatory, which is about just voluntarily supporting each other during an ethnic holiday. And then lastly, ethnocultural competence, which is sort of this culmination where it combines the knowledge and the tolerance to build skills that will equip students and prepare them for their future careers. So let's go to the problem statement. Now, there are plenty of literature talking about how even at the school level, there's already a problem of this segregation, grouping by nationality. So we can imagine that in the university level, it's going to be a bit more severe, as confirmed by Shahid and Kiang, as well as Wang et al. Since the intervention I'm proposing is ethnic holiday celebrations, there are literature that prove that ethnic holiday is very functional, as proven by Rutagan and Asidike et al. However, the question remains is, can this positive effect of ethnic holiday celebration be replicated for the university students? And these are the research gaps that I will be addressing. The population, intervention, and methodological. This is because so far the studies that test about ethnic holiday celebrations do not focus on students. They focus on general communities or school students. And the studies that do focus on students are talking about barriers and problems, not solutions. And all of the studies so far, there has not been any studies that I found that uses a qualitative approach of using open-ended surveys. And speaking of the research, let's go to the research question, which is basically about how does celebrating ethnic holiday leads to the promotion of cultural knowledge, tolerance, and ethnocultural competence. So going to the actual review of past studies, I'm going to, it's broken down into 5, with each segment having 2 literature to be compared and contrasted. The first one is on the cultural knowledge, which Rotagan has talked about how ethnic holiday celebration can transmit cultural knowledge through generations through hands-on activities. But the weakness is that it's talking about the general festival goers. And Wulandari Atta, on the other hand, who use a conceptual review, only talk about what happens when you don't have the knowledge, which is that it can worsen the problem and make students self-segregate even further. And the problem in this literature is that there's no intervention proposed. So, and there's also no primary data, which is a weakness that Wulandari shares with Rutagan. And then going to the tolerance part, Asidike et al. Use a qualitative approach combining interviewing and observation of a community in East Java, Indonesia, that talks about 2 communities that support each other during their ethnic celebrations. So the strength is that it shows that celebrating each other and supporting by while still maintaining their boundaries can promote tolerance, and with that tolerance it can build a harmonious society. But the weakness is that it's based on a community, not a specific student population. And Sulistyawati and Amin, on the other hand, who also did a qualitative case study, did focus on students but focus on school students actually, and it does show that tolerance can be promoted through ethnic holiday celebrations. But yet again, it's children, not university students. Now on ethnocultural competence, we have Bowen here who did a conceptual analysis who defined ethnocultural competence, provide the levels and components which I will briefly mention, basically adaptability, openness, and awareness of ethnocultural relations. The strength is that it's very theoretical, but the weakness is that there's no assessment method and no empirical data. And this gap is actually addressed by Suyarov, someone who cited Bowen. And Suyarov who also did a conceptual review, proposed an assessment method called a reflective practice. However, the weakness is that it is very individualistic and overlooks the collective part of ethnocultural competence. Now going to the barriers, both of these studies, Shahi and Kiang and Wang et al., document barriers, but not talking about any intervention in the form of celebrations. Shahi and Kiang talk about multicultural messaging. Basically, they prime the students with two types of messaging: colorblind messaging and multicultural messaging, whereby colorblind messaging is ignoring differences. Multicultural messaging is about recognizing and accepting those differences, and they have found that positive multicultural messaging helps lessen the negative effects. Still, yet again, no intervention tested, except that one, which is very artificial. And then going to the link to the SDG. Why did I mention SDGs? Because the SDG, especially SDG 4, actually addresses the purpose of education beyond the classroom world, basically talking about the impact of education in terms of its civic and social effects. And here Rosa et al. Who did a bibliometric analysis, has mapped trends that shows that multicultural education is getting more and more linked to the SDGs in recent research, which shows that my research is still globally relevant. And then Kapalian et al., who did a qualitative case study on university students in Lithuania, showed that SDGs are actively being implemented in universities, but not in the sense that students are participating, but more like students as the organizer. So that's the weakness. So the methodology to address this is that I will be using a qualitative approach for focusing on 30 sample of undergraduate students here in Malaysia, and using an open-ended online survey with 6 questions. And these are my references. And basically, to conclude, the problem is that diverse campus does not mean automatic understanding. And there are no study tests that focus on ethnic holiday as an intervention for university students. So this study will do exactly that. Thank you for listening.